In this video, I'll summarize the core points from 0 to 1 by Peter Thiel, a Silicon Valley legend who is best known as a founder of PayPal and Palantir. Specifically, I'll cover the top takeaways that relate to high school students and college admissions, so this is not meant to be a full summary of the book. If you want a general summary, check out the link in the description below. But if you want to know how I think this book's ideas relate to college admissions, keep watching. Hey everybody, James here. I'm a founder of Cortex Education, and I specialize in using personal development to help my students achieve college admissions success. If you've been learning new concepts from these videos that I've been posting, please hit that like button down below and be sure to subscribe to make sure you don't miss any of the content that I have coming up for you guys. Let's get started. First off, let's talk about why I'm relating entrepreneurship concepts to college admissions. This is not a takeaway from the book, per se, but it's an important concept in itself, and it sets us up for the rest of this video. No matter what career path you want to pursue, whether it's business, or medicine, or engineering, or anything else really, I find it incredibly important and fun to develop an entrepreneurial mindset that you can layer on top of the skills that are specific to your field. This means that even if you're going to be a doctor, you should have certain traits that are stereotypically associated with entrepreneurs, like the ability to think independently and, when necessary, take counterintuitive action to achieve your goals. I believe that these types of traits will be critical to thriving in the future, which I think will be increasingly dynamic and unpredictable, even for traditionally stable career paths like medicine and law. Unsurprisingly, top colleges also want to see these same entrepreneurial traits layered on top of whatever other skills you might have. They'd rather see that you're the creator of something small but unique than the leader of something large but kind of uninspiring. And this is why an entrepreneurship book like 0 to 1 is actually very relevant to high school students who are looking to get into great colleges. And so, when I recently finished reading 0 to 1, I knew I wanted to make this video to share with you guys how its core message relates to students. The first big takeaway from the book is that you should not spend all your energy trying to look like someone else who is successful. In the business world, Peter Thiel argues that when one company tries to copy another company, it can't really succeed at changing the world, because all it's doing is spreading the invention that somebody else already created. That's the reason why you probably have no idea what manufacturer created the chair you're sitting in, but you definitely know who created your phone. Most chair manufacturers are kind of the same, so they're not very interesting. Meanwhile, there are just a handful of smartphone makers, and each one is really quite unique, especially the big players like Apple and Samsung. When you apply to college, who would you rather be like? A chair manufacturer or a smartphone designer? Obviously, it doesn't do you any favors to be generic like the chair manufacturer. This applies to your extracurricular activities and essays, which are the subjective parts of your application. Too many students have the mindset of, my older sister played water polo all 4 years in high school and she got into MIT, so I should do the same thing. But fundamentally, you need to figure out your own combination of activities that will make you special. The worst outcome is when a student tries desperately to copy other students who are successful and ends up not being good at anything. As they say, winners focus on winning, and losers focus on winners. And it should go without saying that if your essays look like someone else's essays, well, that's plagiarism. I'd say that's probably counterproductive if your goal is to get accepted by colleges. And all of this builds up to the big central thesis of 0 to 1, that in order to achieve massive success, you need to create a monopoly for yourself. You have to be one of a kind, and you have to be the best in the world at being what you are. Let's talk about why this might be the case in the world at large, and then we'll talk about how this concept applies to college admissions. You might have learned in history or economics that a monopoly is a bad thing. We learn in economics class that pure competition is a good thing. Peter Thiel argues that that's not quite right. He says that you should try to create a business that is so ahead of the competition and so hard to copy that it's effectively a monopoly. And if your monopoly results from your innovation and creativity, that means it's good for you and good for the world. Even the US government, which prohibits bad monopolies that arise from shady business practices, does actually encourage monopolies relating to innovation. Patents and copyrights are types of monopolies that our government grants to innovators to encourage them to, well, innovate and create more. So how does this all apply to college admissions? Well, you may have heard that top colleges are looking for students who have what's called a spike. What is it that makes you special? Yale doesn't want an incoming class of freshmen who look all the same. Ideally, every single student on campus is special in her or his own way and is the best in the world at his or her unique niche. For example, you might be the only applicant who created software to produce musical sounds that stimulate brain healing after a stroke. Or you might be one of a kind in that you created a weather station in your own backyard and started sending data to the local TV station to help them forecast the weather. This is the essence of why Peter calls this process of innovation going from 0 to 1. Before, there was no one like you, and now you're the only one in the world doing what you do. He argues that that form of innovation is how you really change the world, and I argue that that's how you get into your dream college. So come up with your own special way to contribute, whether that's inventing something new, creating a new organization, starting a nonprofit, creating a unique YouTube channel, or writing a book about something you're passionate about. Don't be afraid to start small, since we all do. Just make sure that you're unique and that you keep leveling up your project constantly. So far in this video, we've talked about standing out in your extracurricular activities and your essays. Now, you might be wondering, what about GPA and SAT or ACT scores? How can I stand out there? Well, the short answer is you can't, because there's a limit to how high you can go on each of those, and everybody is measured along the same scale. And this is why these traditional measures of student success are fundamentally different from how the real world works. But you still have to play the academics game, so the rule I have for you is this. When it comes to aspects of your application that have some kind of limit, like a GPA, SAT, or ACT scores, and the number of AP and honors courses you take, you should try to get as close as possible to that limit. You should look like all the other students who are successful. But when it comes to the open-ended aspects of your application, like your activities and essays, do not look like anyone else. Be unique. This is what top colleges want to see, and it's where 0 to 1 really helps us understand how to approach college applications. I hope you liked this video and learned something new, and if so, please hit that like button down below, since that's the only way the YouTube algorithm knows that it should share this video with more people who might benefit from it. Again, my name is James, I'm one of the founders of Cortex Education, and I specialize in using personal development to help my students achieve college admissions success. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I'll see you in the next video.